welcome to the NewsX Sunday Guardian Roundtable. As the Aam Aadmi Party completes 1 year in office, we are here to analyze Delhi Chief Minister Kejriwal's performance. For this with me, I have a very distinguished panel. We have Mr. Shiv Visvanathan, sociologist and commentator. We have Mr. Pankaj Vohra, managing editor of the Sunday Guardian. Mr. Siddharth Varadarajan, founding editor of the Wire.in. And also Virendra Kapoor, columnist and a well-known face in Delhi. But to begin with, Pankaj, how would you rate Kejriwal's performance?
Well, 1 year of Kejriwal is something like 1 year of Madanlal Khurana when he took over. The Delhi Assembly was revived in 1993, and the first year of Madanlal Khurana was spent, trying to streamline certain things which had gone totally wrong. The best, as a matter of fact, the golden rule in Delhi has been during the time when Khurana was the chief minister. It has never returned. So, basically I would like to compare that Kejriwal's first year has been something similar to Khurana. He's trying to streamline things. He's trying to involve people. And I think in that way, he has done quite a bit. It may not be visible on the surface. But yes, he is like a Swaraj budget. He's trying to involve people of various districts and mohallas to find out what is it that they want.
So he's trying hard, yeah.
Yeah.
Siddharth, what would you say?
I would say it's hard to judge the performance of the government because a lot of time has been consumed in the past year with this very destructive battle between Kejriwal and Aam Aadmi Party on the one hand, on the one side, and the LG and of course the Home Ministry and the Modi government on the other. If he had a truly free hand, it's possible that we might have seen many more initiatives, more governance, and less arguments. But within the limited space that he had, and despite all the obstacles that the LG and the central government have placed in his way, I would say that he has certainly delivered a better government than we saw during the brief first phase of the Aam Aadmi Party. Yes. Which was interrupted, of course, by his resignation. And I dare say, on some of the key expectations that the public had of a more participatory approach to governance, there definitely seems to be a change for the better. Some of the initiatives that the government has taken, odd even, for example, have been applauded, people have liked it. And the Pankaj mentioned the budgeting, the approach to budgeting, some of the allocation for health, education. There seems to be a little bit more drive, more purposefulness in the administration, which I think is positive.
Okay.
But the fact remains that he has a very limited remit as the chief minister. And if ever there was a compelling argument to be made for full statehood for Delhi, minus of course very limited issue of VVIP protection and so on that any national capital would expect to keep in the central government's hands, I think if he had a full remit, he would perhaps do even better, and we would also be in a better position to judge him.
Okay. Virendra, would you call governance interrupted really Kejriwal's, mantra, whether he resigns or he takes on the centre and fights? But pura governance hamesha nahi karta.
No, first Pankaj compared him to Madanlal Khurana. Madanlal Khurana was a good chief minister. And I would say, minus the noise, if he wants to say this, he should have added that first year of Madanlal Khurana, he can compare with Kejriwal, minus the noise. Constant noise that emanates from every quarter, of Aam Aadmi. If it is not Kejriwal, his ministers, his spokespersons. Kejriwal, Siddharth mentioned that if he had more powers, when Kejriwal contested this election, he knew what he was getting in for. The term was not that I will get a full statehood and only then I'll. Sheila Dikshit did pretty well. In retrospect, we've been very unfair to her. Sheila Dikshit pretty well within the limitations. This city has seen a Congress government in Delhi and a BJP government, Vajpayee there, and the vice versa. There hasn't been so much of trouble, and I'll go further that no chief minister, I've lived in Bombay for 7-8 years. The chief minister hardly makes it to the page 1 of the newspapers there, whether it's in English or the language papers. Kejriwal, I think the religion is that you must be on page 1. You must be on nightly television. and do whatever. If you don't have any other issue, pick up a stone and throw at Modi, or pick up a stone and throw at somebody else. Fight with Delhi police, fight with LG, fight with so and so. Why don't you work within your limitations? This is what your limitations are.
And you knew that before you got into it.
And for a man, as for the performance, Siddharth mentioned audible. Here is the Chief Minister of Delhi, goes to Calcutta, addresses some meeting there, he was called. And as proof of 1 year of his performance, he cites, now we have proved that we can also go on. Why? Audible. Audible, it doesn't take, an instant to come out with the audible. And audible required the cooperation, full cooperation of Delhi police and Delhiites. What else do you have to show, apart from giving Jhugibalas a free license, occupy public land? I don't think that Kejriwal has delivered anything except noise.
That's a very harsh line, Mr. Viswanathan. Do you agree with that?
No, I would distinguish between plumbing and performance.
All right.
Okay? Plumbing involves everyday repair, which involves deeper issues of governance. That's going to take some time. But the way he linked the two is important, because to a certain extent he made the public feel there's a public, that there were issues in the open. Yes, some of them were noisy, some of them were very nautanki, but I think deeply he made people feel involved in democracy and governance. Now you can say some parts of it were badly performed. Okay, but I still think he raises questions. I'm glad he's in the newspaper every day, because his performance is a kind of pedagogy, where you see a man making both mistakes and finding the moral luck to find some of the right issues.
I just want to take a small point about the plumbing part. When Modi does the plumbing, and that's what he did in the last 2 years, nobody wants to give him the benefit of doubt. But when Kejriwal does this, he's great.
No, Modi also gets the benefit of doubt.
Modi gets too much of the benefit of doubt.
He's also doing that.
The problem with Modi and Kejriwal are too alike.
No, plumber has other implications in the metaphor. A plumber is a very
I think the
different kind
program
of
is
feature.
on Kejriwal, and we should keep the
But
focus
the
on to
comparison
Kejriwal.
between the two is
No, but there's
there.
a question
You
of
can't
scale,
not.
and I think one has to look at it. If you're looking at question of performance, looking at Delhi with a certain limited sense of power, and looking at a prime minister, then you've got to have a different notion of history or scale.
Okay.
Otherwise, I think the comparisons are unfair. They're of course delightful.
What is the remit
Very
of
delightful.
this Delhi government? You set this civic services infrastructure. That's all. Has you seen any improvement? Go ahead and let anybody say. We all live here. You also live here.
No, I agree with you that the thing is that, again that question comes that infrastructure, because of multiplicity of authority as it exists in Delhi, there are so many agencies in charge of infrastructure. There's CPWD, there's PWD which comes under Delhi government, CPWD comes under the Urban Development Ministry, there's DDA, there's Municipal Corporation. So infrastructure is a kind of a very vague term. It's very difficult for
Sheila Dikshit also worked within the same limitations.
No, but
and
Sheila
delivered.
Sheila Dikshit had also the benefit of support because she was from a structured political party. The other party was also supporting her throughout. The other party always put up weak candidates against her when she contested from Goal Market. It was never this particular party is an unstructured party. It is trying to make its mark. It is trying to make
why should
democracy.
Delhiites pay the price for that?
No, Delhiites are not paying the price.
My business to see that
The Delhiites are participating in it. Everyone is paying the price for democracy, but it does not mean that in 1 year we, give him a.
No, of course not. He's got a 5-year term. They'll let him.
So, Siddharth, are we paying the price of an unstructured party, or are we reaping the benefits of an unstructured party?
No, see, the thing is that I think it's too early to say reaping the benefits of paying the price, quite frankly. In the sense that what we've seen, I don't think that Delhi is any worse, quite frankly, in the last year. And in certain areas, I see definite improvement. I think that Sheila Ji's first term, Madan Lal Khurana's term, there is a definite comparison to be made. There is a purposefulness to the government. I would say the allocations for health and education in the budget are positive steps. I would say the speed with which the Delhi government responded to the crisis of air pollution, to come up with a plan now, admittedly it's a trial, it was a very limited plan of odd and even, but it showed the capacity to take a decision that was potentially hugely unpopular, right? And in doing so, they tapped into, I think, they understood the civic pulse of Delhi. It's not, Kapoor Sahib is right that the cops had to help and so on and so forth, but odd even worked because the ordinary citizen of Delhi wanted it to work. You know, so she like a woman motorist who had the right to drive. I know many women who said, no, I'm not going to drive, right, because I want this initiative to work. So I think that the odd even is a much bigger deal than we sometimes give credit for.
You see, so continuing on just a small point about odd even. It's just because the car owner per se is supposed to be a little more aware about the environmental concerns, the pollution.
Yes.
So he was willing to do that, and he was willing to do that for 15 days. But you can't make it a permanent thing. So it's the awareness. You try doing that with the taxi walas and the the auto rickshaw walas, then you'll realize this is not. I'm not saying that odd even was not a success. It was a success, but it was a success thanks to the people who drive cars. But eventually you have to find more meaningful ways of curbing pollution. Odd even is not the solution.
Enough. No, but my point is, Mr. Viswanathan, also the fact that Arvind Kejriwal appeals to, say, the civic sense or the sense of goodwill. People want to give him maybe a longer rope than if you say another political chief minister would have asked me to do it. I may not.
See, I like Arvind Kejriwal because he is experimental, because he can make mistakes. I think odd even signals the beginning of an experiment. To reduce it to the fact that car owners are a bit more educated is too elitist for me, and I'm not sure car owners are more educated ecologically. I defy you to prove it. The more important thing is, I think he tapped into something in the subconscious of a people. He tapped into a bigger public. There's an excitement to it because for the first time you're talking about a government of the future. This is not the set-piece battles of Madanlal Khurana and Sheila Dikshit. This guy is trying to offer something new. It's tentative. Parts of it are ridiculous, but the new always is a combination of the tentative and the ridiculous.
Through his actions, one more thing which I think Kejriwal is trying to drive home is, he's trying to drive home the, kind of a farce this multiplicity of authority has made Delhi out to be. The BJP always in its manifesto used to have full statehood for Delhi. This time it did not. Sheila Dikshit, during her regime, the Delhi Assembly passed a resolution for full statehood of Delhi. Basically the elected representatives, I don't care whether it is Kejriwal who's in power or it's Sheila Dikshit or BJP. But the elected representatives in Delhi should have some muscles. They should not be, subservient to bureaucrats. A joint secretary in the Ministry of Home or in the Ministry of Urban Development should not call the shots, while elected representative of Delhi, whoever he is, has to, take the back seat. So I think through his actions, what Kejriwal is trying to do is, he's trying to focus attention of the people of Delhi on this particular problem, and that is that Delhi should get full statehood, and there should be more, autonomy to the Delhi government.
But Siddharth, have you seen such a collision course with the Prime Minister, between a centre chief minister and a Prime Minister? Others have governed, they worked with the opposing parties, Sheila Dikshit's example, and yet, you managed to work your way around. Isn't that what a politician...
There's a very big difference here. Aam Aadmi Party is a very small, outfit, quite frankly, right? They thought they had a larger national footprint or a larger national potential. Many of us in the media also in 2014 assumed that AAP would tap into urban sentiments around the world, but clearly that idea was a bit premature. But I think in the long term, the impulse that AAP represents is something which is deeply threatening to both the Congress and the BJP, quite frankly. And in my view, the fact that they won the Delhi election and won it so handily showed that the citizens of Delhi in the last assembly election wanted to repose their faith in this new way of doing it, and it showed a certain amount of disenchantment with the Modi phenomenon. Now, I think it is not in the BJP's interest to have the Aam Aadmi Party prove it can govern. Just like I don't think it's in the Congress Party's interest either, although the Congress Party, to the extent to which it may embarrass Modi, may derive some pleasure out of Kejriwal doing well. But the fact is that this represents something new. It's experimental. It is deeply threatening to the status quo, even though if you look at numbers, there's no reason why the BJP should be worried about Aam Aadmi Party. But I think that, a lot of the rancor and bitterness that you see is, of course, because the centre is ruled by a different party and you have a different party in the state. But the tension is exacerbated by the fact that it's BJP and it's AAP. So all the instrumentalities, like, for example, the MHA insisting that DDCA cannot be inquired into, and getting the LG to strike down the commission that he was trying to set up. Now there's a manifest problem of allegations of corruption in DDCA. Somebody has to inquire into it, right? And so if he takes this initiative, and I think people of Delhi would like cricket to be cleaned up. All the stories that have come out. Why shouldn't there be a commission? Law and order, we've seen the way in which the Delhi police behaved with students outside the RSS headquarters the other day. Where is the accountability? It's not enough for Bassi to say, "Main pata karta hu ki kya hua." The fact is that, it's too distant a responsibility. Like the voter of Delhi cannot punish Rajnath or cannot punish Modi for police high-handedness or the failure of the police, right? Ultimately, it is the state government that should have that responsibility. And this is the BJP's position in the past.
Virendra, and is it very personal between Kejriwal and, say, Modi and Jaitley?
DDCI, for instance, BCCI is a company registered under the company's law. So is DDCA. He's got no jurisdiction. Tomorrow he'll start saying, I'll investigate Modi. If for 60 years, and I remember you used to call him the strong man of Delhi, Chaudhary Brahm Prakash. Once he left Congress, he said, want full statehood. It's as old as, this demand for Congress is in opposition here, wants a statehood. Once it moves to power, both here or there, then drops the demand. There must be some reason. I'm not at all saying that it's good or bad. The fact is that you don't have a full statehood in Delhi. Work within the system. Prove that you can go on. You don't have to prove by finding an excuse and blaming somebody else. Take the garbage strike. I mean, there are conflicting, totally diametrically opposite, what they call, each one of them calls a fact, that this is not a loan. The corporations are owed this money. Where he says it's a loan, and I am only giving it till the end of the month. So the point is that he probably finds some percentage in fighting everybody. That way, probably, because even if there is a marginal improvement, it's very difficult to satisfy the Indian voter or voter anywhere. So the point is, in a democratic system, the day the results are announced, the winner goes and occupies the seat of power, his popularity comes down. Kejriwal should realize this, that he's been given 67 seats out of 70. This never happened in the city, anywhere. But he's making a mess of it.
Okay, how much of a mess Kejriwal is making, or is he actually doing a good job? We're going to keep this debate open, but after a short break. Welcome back to the NewsX Sunday Guardian Roundtable. We are here debating 1 year of Arvind Kejriwal. Mr. Viswanathan, in this debate also you've seen it's been 1 year, but we're not really discussing what he's achieved. Main focus has been the take on with the centre.
See something. Look at the narratives. You've got three kinds of narratives. There's the personality debate, Arvind Kejriwal versus, name whatever you like. Two, there's a performance debate, which seems to assume some notion of competence. But I think there's a pedagogic debate, which I want to emphasize. This is a learning process. By opening up the questions of governance, I think it's raising issues, because now statehood doesn't depend on personalities or people like Brahm Prakash. Statehood is necessary as a fact of governance. I think he's driving home important lessons. Even if he's an intermediate figure, I think Arvind Kejriwal has achieved something. He has shown people that politics and governance has to combine in a democratic way, and that's saying a lot. And if he can do it with all the noise and the controversy, bit of the pettiness, a lot of the idealism, I think it's important, because it is an open visual show in the way democracy should be.
Your last words on Kejriwal?
No, I agree with Professor Viswanathan that he is going to be a trendsetter in many ways. The thing is that so far as Kejriwal is concerned, at one level he is trying to prove that he can govern. On the other level, he is also keeping his own persona and his own image alive. He wants to be a bigger player on the national scene. I'm not saying that he's the contender for Prime Ministership, but with Punjab elections coming up next year and with Aam Aadmi Party doing exceedingly well in Punjab, he wants to make sure that the dividends he reaps, political dividends in Delhi, they get transferred and they somehow get also demonstrated when the results of Punjab elections come. So Kejriwal is basically knows that BJP is in Delhi finished for the time being after the assembly elections, and so has the Congress, which has been totally wiped out of the they failed to get even a single seat. So he's trying to make the best of it, and he's trying to assert himself and his supremacy in the city.
Make the best of it. That's not a very good last word.
Well, I mean, my parting shot would be 2 bits of advice to Arvind Kejriwal. One is that don't get carried away with initial successes. Odd even was great, but odd even is just about scratching the surface of what we need to do to deal with traffic, to deal with pollution, to deal with environmental threats in the city. There are lots more initiatives that I think need to be done, and I hope he pursues them. Secondly, the idea that other senior leaders don't seem to have space in the party. In Delhi now, you seem to have a reasonable arrangement with Sisodia and Kejriwal and others, but somehow the fact that people have left the party and left on fairly unpleasant terms, Yogendra Yadav, Prashant Bhushan, I think to some extent maybe the fault of those who left also, but to the extent to which Kejriwal's personality and the inability perhaps to deal with dissension, different points of view, to the extent to which that's a factor, I think it's important that Mr. Kejriwal and the Aam Aadmi Party find institutional mechanisms to address this.
So he needs to be a bit conform with the others.
I would say more collegial and functioning.
Well, that's not in Kejriwal's character. He's not shown it. I mean, you start with Anna Hazara's movement. All those who were there with him, marginalized them, thrown out. And this is a one-man show. And because Anna Hazara, the entire credit he walked away with. And I want you to know that the movement of Ramla Maidan was essentially, the crowds were all RSS BJP driven. I also live in the city. But he walked away with the credit. The fact is that it's a one-man party, one-man show. The focus is on Kejriwal. It's public money, 526 crore being used. Do you know that initially, till somebody filed a PIL in Delhi High Court challenging this from 26 crore to 526 crore, he used to buy ads at Delhi taxpayers' expense in papers in Madras and Bombay also. So the whole idea is to glorify himself.
Where have we heard this one before?
That's it. If Delhi, and secondly, new kid on the block, because the level of disillusionment with the politicians being what it is, here is a man who offers, the new word, the new way of politics. And people get disappointed. Just go back. Mayawati came, a new beginning for the Dalits. We know by Mayawati's. Mulayam for the OBCs. This happens. People get to know what Kejriwal is. Maybe that somebody else, Virendra Yadav forms his party, or Prashant Bhushan forms his party. I'm not very hopeful.
Well, we have a very mixed panel over here. Some are hopeful, some not so hopeful. But from us, that's all for now. Thank you for watching this roundtable. We'll see you again, same time next week.